to go deeper on the concept of productivity as an organization. We had the privilege to hear Mark talk more about productivity more at an individual level. So we're going to now move towards organization. And we're going to talk about some of the obstacles to really look at productivity. We're also going to talk about some redefining productivity. What is productivity really all about? And we're going to talk about some of the investments that our panelists will invite us to reflect on, both from a short-term and long-term perspective. Before we start, we'd love to get the group to give us some data. And we don't know what the data is going to show, so I'm going to invite you to look at the data as we show it, and just get your insights. So there are two questions for you. If we can have the Menti QR code. The first question, once you see the QR code coming here, is we're not going to ask you for a raise of hand. We're actually going to ask you to use the QR code and tell us, in your opinion, how will you rate the current level of productivity in your organization? 1 being low. If you cannot show the results first, because I don't want people to be biased. That's okay, no worries. Let it be. Okay, better. Thank you. So just show us the results once you think there's enough critical mass to not influence. All right. Okay, you can start showing us the results, Benita, now, a little bit on what do you think is the level of productivity in your organization?
Everybody thinks it's quite high.
Yeah? So that's one data point for you to observe. Just see where majority, of course, we have 7 and 8, but a lot of 6s as well. Yeah? Now, the second question is, if we were to ask your CEO or your board members, what would they say is actually the current level of productivity in the organization? If we can move to the second question, and don't show us the results. If we were to ask your CEO or board member, don't show the results. Thank you. And what I'm intrigued to know is what's going to be the difference. Yeah? And I love your comments on that. All right, Benita, we can see the results now. We see definitely more 5s. We didn't see so many 5s before. So if you really look at 5s and 6s, and more 7s, yeah? All right, is there a way we can see the previous slide, just to see again, refresh? Yes. And now the next one. All right. What does this tell you? Who would like to start?
Should I
yeah,
start
go ahead, Manohar.
So since I seem to be the business representative on this panel, so let me talk about the CEO view.
Sure.
I think boards and CEOs are looking and driving for more productivity. And they have given a relative free hand to CTOs and COOs to pursue productivity projects. And what they actually see in terms of outcomes, they're less than excited about the outcomes. So I think there is a certain gap that you would expect between what boards and CEOs are working on and expecting, and execution is always difficult, and we saw that in the keynote spoker from Mark, right?
Yeah.
Execution is difficult. HR leaders are getting ready to go through change management, but execution takes time. And my friend here is a CTO, and technology projects take time. Implementing tools takes time. So I think I see this as sort of expected between business and board expectations and what's actually on the ground and how difficult it is to make quick progress. But I think it's imperative upon everyone to make faster progress, because the world outside is not waiting for each of us, right?
Thank you. Thanks, Manohar. Go ahead,
Yeah,
Nora.
if I may. By the way, if I start shouting, it's because I can't hear very well. I don't know what happened. I was on the flight, so I'm struggling here. Now, I don't doubt, in fact, that everybody seems to be slanting on the 7, 8 actually, right? However, I think it needs a redefinition, productivity. Because for the longest time, ever since I joined HR, because that was my first job in HR when they told me, yeah, we'd like you to look at productivity. But what they meant was I had to retrench people. Okay? So I have no doubt that people are really thinking they're productive, right? But it might be the old definition of time motion study, okay? Squeeze the assets, right? Utilize them to, for a while, people changed to using optimum rather than maximize. But actually what they mean is maximize, right? It's more polite to say optimize. Okay. So I think in today's time, and this is a tech conference anyway, we really need to redefine that. Because, as Manu said, just yesterday in our group exco meeting, right, the strategy team put up, okay, this is what we intend to send out for FY 2025 budget planning, and no surprises, one of the guidance is productivity needs to be improved, right? And I had to remind them again, right? People are numb, very numb to that word, right? What does that mean? In today's time, it is actually elevating. You and I talked about that. It's about elevating the human performance. And it's not time motion study, right? Because time motion stuff, tasks, activities, come on, there's GPT, right? So how productive is the human in realizing unrealized potentials? Because that's what is in the mind of the CEOs and the owners. Well, I consider myself a CEO as well, whether my colleagues like it or not, right? I'm a chartered accountant by training. Who says I'm stamped HR here? I just happen to be in the HR discipline. I love your laughter, thank you. We are on the same wavelength. So, in the minds of business owners, like us, like you and I, right? It's about these unrealized potentials. And if they are unrealized potentials, then doing more of the same thing is not going to deliver significant results. As Einstein says, we're insane. So I am not surprised, but I think we need to really talk about what does productivity mean in today's time and in the future.
Super. And I'm going to come to you, Nora, immediately after this first round for this definition. Norman, what did you see in the data?
Okay. As a CTO, technology is leading engineers reporting to a CEO and board member, guys like Manohar here. Whenever I have a discussion with my board, I always try to put my shoes as well in theirs. So if I'm in the board, when I think about productivity, what I really care would be about is just an engine. The company that we are in is just an engine that produces results. And I want the engine to produce more in a shorter time of period, so ship more throughput out, whatever that may be. Revenue, profit, active users, whatever that may be. And then it's up to us, the management, the team, to be able to deliver that. The board may not really, care how the engine will crank inside. So it's up to us to manage the people, the technology, the process, and the data that we have. So from their perspective, they will just look at the numbers, and then they will also make comparisons with company that is in the same field, at the same size with ours, as a benchmark with the peers. So they will have a certain level of expectations of the results, of the productivity or throughput, as well as the efficiency. And then we, the operator that going to produce that results, running so-called the factory, the engine to produce that result, need to be able to match to that expectation. But when I look at the numbers today, it seems pretty converging. You think your board range you about 7 to 8, while you think you are actually at the productivity level at 7 to 8. So yeah, it's good crowd here. So the expectation and the delivery seems aligned. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Norman. And I'm going to come to you on how do we really make that engine produce more and what kind of investments are needed. So I'm going to come to you for that. So Nora, I'm coming, and if you need me to repeat the question, let me know. No issues. I'll repeat
Thank
it.
you.
I'm very intrigued on this redefining the concept of productivity. And I'd love you to invite us to think about how do we define that in our own context, because I think every business model, every industry will really have to go deeper in redefining that. So probably you don't have an answer for all of us, but how do we redefine productivity in our context? What will be your invitation?
Okay. Let me perhaps give a case study on our end, right? It's still work in progress, but what we've begun is to really look at how to create those new jobs that you and I talk about, that surveys talk about, that reports talk about, you know, in terms of, oh yes, with the current developments in technology and digitalization, new jobs are created. I don't see very many, by the way. Okay, not enough for the workforce in the world. So we have set a target that 25% of our roles, our jobs, and the incumbents in the organization by this year to be in those new roles that, so I'm actually defining it differently, right? That produces the right outcomes for the organization with the help of tools and, well, tools really, yeah? Digitalization and the other aspects that come with that, right? So next year, the target is 30%. Now you may think it's small, the 25%, 30%, but in our world, that equates about 12,000 roles, right? 30%. We are 43,000 people and roles. So what does that mean? We utilize case studies, use cases, right? Tests with using GPT, for example. Our sales team, this is already about 2 years ago. We had a pilot team and a normal group who went through the normal training clearly, and I'm sure you've tested this as well. Like I said, it's 2 years now. Those that were trained using GPT actually achieved, I mean, we were like, wow, right, at that time. 3 times conversion, sales conversion, compared to those who were trained in the traditional way. So that's one example. Analysts, now what we did in the early days of digitalization, pre-COVID, right? We were hiring data scientists, all of us. We were establishing, just at Maybank, we have our coders in Bangalore, India, a subsidiary set up, right? But we were ahead of time in a way, right? So now is the time to get them to really, you know, be able to realize the potentials, right? So analysts, also we started hiring like Matt, and I'm sure you too. But if you look at what they're doing today, right? What they're producing, and I test this all the time. I ask GPT, and the report comes out immediately, right? So why am I using the analyst to come up with that first level report, and analysis, right? So basic things like that really help, because these are use cases, get people comfortable with it, and then start redefining the role. So 12,000 is the target by next year.
Yeah, wonderful. So that's great. Manohar, you want to add? And I want to stay with you. Please add to Nora's, but also take it one step forward, as you mentioned about the urgency from a business perspective.
I'll make a couple of points. See, how do we define productivity? I'll just give you a funny example, right?
Yeah.
There's this lady, I think in the US, who works in the marketing department, and she does all the creative work. She, creates output which is useful for her customer. She loves her job, and of course, she's got her household duties and all of that. What AI is doing, or all the productivity tools are trying to do, is to take away 80–90% of the work she actually does, and she loves the job. And what she wants AI to do is her laundry and childcare and everything that she does not want to do. So I think when we are defining productivity, and I'll come to my second point on technology, we also have to see where we are increasing productivity, and there has to be a human responsibility. And since this is an HR forum, we need to deeply think about what parts of work our people are enjoying and getting enriched, and is that what we want to automate and make it more productive? Or do you look at things which are really painful for us as individuals, and that needs to change? Second, the technology industry and the world has gone through a lot of change, and there have been a lot of old systems and old software and whole bunch of old things. And the entire industry knew only how to work on the old systems. But just in the last 10 years, maybe Norman should add to this point, just in the last 10 years, there has been so much of transformation on the digital side. And this is an industry which has done it. And of course, workers were affected, but look at that industry to understand how transformation can be done, because while we go into the other questions, how to do it is also important. You have to train, you have to change the mindset, you have to be ready for speed, right? If you have to be ready for change, you have to do it at speed, and you have to make sure that the mindset of each and every employee is on board. Everyone is afraid of AI today. How do we change the mindset, right? So, and the definition is really very industry specific in many ways. This is my third point. We have what is called a revenue productivity, and it's a very, very standard definition of what productivity means. It combines wages, combines revenue I get from customers, it combines an individual, what the person delivers in a month. So I think it's a very, very strong metric. We should look at metrics like that. Yeah.
Wonderful, thank you. Thanks, Manohar. And I'm going to come to you on the individual side of the picture, and what do individuals, our employees, need to look at to be ready for that. But before that, Norman, I'd love to get your opinion on what can AI really do and not do, and that what can AI do and not do, and what should we as HR professionals be looking at investing to be ready for what you mentioned before about technology and human coming together.
Thank you. Just like we discussed before, right? The board see us, all of us, just like a black box, an engine that produces results. They want high throughput, and it's up to us to decide what's inside that box, the system thinking, the system operational that we need to do on people, process, technology, and data that we have to produce that result. When we talk about technology, it can really help to produce that throughput. And AI is the latest technology trend that can help us to do that. But it is very good to have the understanding for all of us, not just the tech people, but also people as an HR professional, to be able to separate the hype and the fundamentals of AI. So maybe I can share a bit that AI is actually not something new. It's been around for decades. My thesis 25 years ago is already in the field of AI, so nothing new. What just happened is AI just being made democratized. It is now accessible to anyone and everyone. So it's just another wave, like the wave of PC that democratized computing for everyone, internet that democratized access to everyone, and smartphone that make that available anytime. AI is now just being democratized. And then there are many type of AI, not just Gen AI or Chat GPT or LLM that we just hear recently. There are many different type of AI. There has been around like decades that more traditional machine learning as an example that can do prediction, forecasting, and all these capabilities, even the rules-based and heuristics. Maybe all of us not yet really exploit that kind of AI in our organization yet, and we jump straight to Gen AI. It is fine, but I want to emphasize that not everything can be solved with Gen AI or Chat GPT. There are things where Gen AI and Chat GPT can do wonders in terms of create content, text, videos, images, and so on. But there are areas where Gen AI is actually useless or not really useful. In prediction and forecasting, then AI may not really be the one that can be really that useful. As an example, for Dana, like us, we are a fintech company that provide payment, lending, investment, and insurance. Right now, we are serving almost 200 million people in the platform. We have credit scoring. To build credit scoring, you need AI. And the AI that you use is basically most likely a more traditional machine learning. It's not Gen AI. However, Gen AI can also be useful. For example, you want to have more comprehensive data that you can synthesize. So you can create a synthetic data with Gen AI to create that synthetic data, and then you use that synthetic data together with your data to create credit scoring as an example. So we can combine all this. And then another example of the using of Gen AI specifically that helps us as an organization. So we are a tech company, 60% of our employees are engineers, software developers that write codes. And since last year, October, we adopted the AI augmented software development. So right now, my developers in the company, they don't code everything from scratch. They're not writing and interpreting all the algorithm as code on their own, but they can just prompt that in a natural language, something like, please create a function to calculate this and that. Enter, and then the AI will generate the code for them, and then they just review that code and then accept that, and that goes into our production system. So in a month, roughly about 50,000 lines of code in our organization is not written by human, but written by AI. So that is already possible. So you can also build a lot of natural language interface on top of the data that you have. So with all this advancement of AI, and you think you can just buy AI and you can be advanced, I will tell you the truth. You may be to some extent, but at the end of the day, the jewel of the crown is your own data. If you don't have your data, if you don't observe, just like Mark mentioned in his keynote about analytics, that's really spot on. If you cannot improve what you cannot measure, so if you don't have the data, what the AI will do with, because the Chat GPT, the LLM, you know, the one from OpenAI, Gemini from Google, etc., they learn from all the knowledge base that is available in public internet. That is available for everyone. It's a commodity. But you can ground that AI running your own model against your own data. That's where you can really get your competitive advantage. So not the AI itself, but your data. AI needs the data. So yes, I think it's something that we really need to be able to understand, to separate the hype and the fundamentals, see where it will be really useful for us.
Thank you, Norman. Yes, go ahead. Nora, and I'm going to come back on the final round. Go ahead, please.
Well, I wanted to emphasize that in my capacity as a board member, right, I don't ask questions about what's the productivity, indicators looking like and all that. It's, again, today, right? Simply because of what I said earlier. What we want is the unrealized potentials with new imagination and so forth. So back to your question, I asked the AI, right? So I asked GPT again, right? What's the difference between what you can produce and what a human analyst, for example, can produce? the answer came, and you can test this, the answer came, well, I cannot contextualize
Yeah.
as much as the human can,
Yeah.
right? There you go. Now, I almost forgot. You know, when someone says like that, it's a bit humble, right? So I felt like apologizing and saying, no, you're okay. Then I realized, well, the other difference is it has no feelings. So it's not feeling like, you know, anything, right? So I was the one who was feeling, oh, no, I must make this person or whatever it is feel better. So it's about that. It's about elevating truly, right, how to generate new revenue drivers. That's what us, who are people on the boards and management teams, are interested in, right? It's a given, whatever that we're producing today. Make sure it works. But what are the new value drivers? How do we significantly scale up? Because business is getting very, very expensive. If we truly are transitioning our business models into more sustainability models, right? It is expensive. We have to test a lot, right? Look at petrol, come on. EV, hydrogen, come on. Yeah, so it's all very expensive. People, let's not suppress them. So pay them right. That's more cost again, right? But make sure we pay them right. So it is really about making sure, right, that we provide opportunities for our people to do something significantly different and provide them with the tools to be able to do so.
Wonderful. Thank you, Nora. And I'm looking at the time, and we love to make sure we have an opportunity. And all of you spoke about the how. The real challenge is the how. We're hearing you. We talk about urgency. We talked about the opportunity. We talked about the experimentation and the learning through that experimentation. What will be the word of advice you want to give us on how do we as HR professionals, CHRO, help the organization be more productive in the new redefinition of productivity? What will be one star, one stop you'd love to leave us with today?
Look, I think as HR, do everything you can change the mindset and you over-communicate about what is happening and what's coming, right? We are entering a hyper-productivity zone, and you just look at 1980 to 2000, there was a 60% increase in productivity, but wages did not go up as much. And we are entering a productivity zone which is far higher than those 2 decades. So as HR, make sure you work on the mindset of individuals, mindset of employees. Remember this, that AI is not taking your job. If you're an individual, AI is not walking into your room and taking your job. The guy who's getting trained on AI, who's enabled on AI, who's amplifying his or her job on AI, that's the person who will get your job, which is a better job for tomorrow. So I think HR and employees should work together to retrain, reorient, get ready for this new world. And don't be scared of AI, embrace it. And this may sound quite simple and plain, but embracing takes a change in mindset. And HR along with business should work on getting the training going. I think we can even look at 2 or 3% of your revenue to be allocated to this mindset shift, which is the softer skill, as well as training. And every software, every analytics software that talent is using, people function is using, everything is going to have AI, and a lot of them have already infused AI into it. So get ready, get trained, don't be worried, embrace it, and do it responsibly. Ethics and responsibility is a huge thing. You should assign someone within the HR department to start working on responsible productivity, responsible AI.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Manohar. Norman, what will be your start and stop for us?
Let's embrace AI and don't be afraid of it. Same tone like what Manohar says. It's just another wave. It will be with us. AI is no longer fancy. Just like PC, internet, and smartphone, everyone has it. So AI is something that everyone will have. So don't be afraid of that. And I've been telling the same to my developers, my software developers, that AI will not replace you, but the developers that use AI will replace you. And we also build stuff like a chatbot for our customer service for our platform. And now 90% of tickets in customer service is solved by the chatbots, not by customer service agents, a human. Does that mean the customer service agent will lose the job? No. What will happen is we'll let the more trivial, repetitive, easy part to be addressed by AI so that the human can work on the stuff that is more complex, that need more creativity, need more imagination, and it humanize human more. And it will be more self-fulfilling for them so that the trivial just let AI do that and I will just focus on more difficult stuff, just like my developers. For the more complex algorithmic stuff, they need to code and think about it. But for the simple, trivial stuff, just let AI do that. So that can really help boost the productivity because a lot of work can be done by AI. The human can really focus on things where human really good at, imagination, creativity, creative, inventive, not just administrative and repetitive. And then the moral boost that they will get because they will feel more human, work on something that really human, not robots, and it will just really boost the overall productivity. So let's just embrace it. It's already here. Yeah, it's here. No point of return. So think of it just like, again, PC, internet, smartphone, and now AI. It's that.
Thank you. Thanks, Norman. Last 1 minute. Nora. Okay, 2 minutes. 1 star, 1 stop.
Well, she's just disrupted my thoughts. How many jobs have you created? I think that's the question I would pose to everyone. That should be a Mentimeter.
Yeah.
How many new jobs have you created? Because the phrase, humans will not lose jobs, it's only the humans who refuse to use tech who will lose jobs. It was already there pre-2020, pre-COVID. So that's why I started just now by saying, set targets, really redefine, right? When we say you're going to have to do things differently, you're going to have to put down on paper, right? Otherwise, they don't understand what it is that you're talking about. And then look at how you're governing. ESG, governance needs to transition, right? How are the SOPs in the organization? Because SOPs are to govern, right, the management of the organization, right? So if SOPs do not change, how the heck are they going to do something different? So I would say organizational redesign should be a primary KPI for every management team and human capital, HR, right? So you need to check. Now, when we say reskill, upskill, right? Reskill to what? Upskill to what? If there are no new role descriptions equals jobs or roles for them to perform in. So there's an integrity issue there. Because we say, as long as we reskill you, you will have a job. But where are the jobs? And come back to the productivity question earlier, right? Then when the cost-to-income ratio goes higher than the threshold that the organization has guided the investors, it's going to come down really hard and say, cut cost. If the income, the jaw, is not widening. So you're back to square one, reducing people, right? So create those roles that we talk about. So OD, what is the skill level of everyone here, including myself, right, in designing and redesigning these new roles, and then looking at how to change SOPs, which then makes sure that we can redesign the structure, right? So chapters, having the right, agile structure, and so forth, that allows humans to be able to be freed up, truly liberated, to focus on humans. So for us, one good example, good example for us, at least, right, is when we turned our bank tellers who do transactional stuff traditionally, right? Instead, go out there and help unbankables. Help those who are almost at early alert to be good customer again. So we have those case studies. I mean, I don't have time to tell you about them, but those are real. These are not theories, right? So we actually, her name is Dino Lemang, one good example, because she's in the early days of 2000. She defaulted on her car loans, right? A straight-through AI-generated process, SOP, would make her bankrupt. We'll just repossess the car. She's just another customer, just another number, right? But these new roles, these two tellers, visited her, used AI, used technology, looked at her predicament. She's got Dino Lemang because she sells lemang, which is a delicacy, for a living. But she couldn't sell because it was locked down, right? So they put her business onto our digital marketplace. We have a digital marketplace called Sama Sama Local. Within a few days, she started receiving orders. And then she started earning, right? Because earlier, no sales, no income, no repayment. Now she has income and she starts repaying. So just by that redesign, we not only avoided cost for the bank, because non-performing loan is a cost, right? And repossessing the car is a cost. Not only did we do that, we also made her able to stand on her own 2 feet and become a good customer again. But even better, that's why I'm so proud of this case study, sustainability, UN SDG principles. Isn't that what we all subscribe to? We gave her back her dignity, because otherwise she would be begging. She's not rich, right? And we make her bankrupt. Why would we treat that? So this is where the AI doesn't have feelings, right? Bad customer, right? But bad customer, why? She's not lazy. She can't come out and sell, right? So is she a bad person? Is she trying to scam the bank? No. Those are jobs for the humans. So we do not, as long as I can defend, we are not going to close branches and cut headcount, but we're going to convert them into, like these two ladies, right? These are the new roles for humans using tools, really building up society and making sure we cure Earth. Thank you. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Nora, for this beautiful example and really bringing into life what it means when it comes to not just your employees, but also your real customers. So thank you for sharing that.